All right, so Bryanna Wu is from CrowdCow. CrowdCow just raised $8 million, and Bryanna Wu is running PR, and so she's able to jump out of the office for 30 minutes to come and share what she's learned on how to build an audience. Thank you, Bryanna, so much.
Thanks for having me, Nick. I'm really excited to talk about early stage startup marketing. So I'm Bryanna. I'm a marathoner. I'm an early stage marketer, and I'm a micro-influencer in the Seattle area. I've worked for 4 different startups. Right now I work for CrowdCow. CrowdCow sells craft beef and meats from small independent farms. You'll be sampling some of the meatballs today. We just won GeekWire Startup of the Year, so we're very, very excited about that. I've also worked for Porch.com. I started in Matt's basement of his rental home, so it was very, very scrappy. And then I worked at OfferUp for 3 years. I started as employee 20, and then when I left, we grew to over 250, so it was a very wild ride. I also worked at Vodo, which is an app company that sold to Hulu. In addition to that, I really like tech, but I also love food. So when I was in college, I started a restaurant with my ex-boyfriend. We were planning it in college, and I lost the slides. I guess I'll start over here. I really want to show you these pictures. Anyways, I started a restaurant called Sizzle and Crunch Vietnamese Grill, and it sells banh mi, salad bowls, rice bowls. So I helped create a business plan. We got funding. We opened the restaurant 2 years later, and scaled it to $1 million a year. Awesome. So if you like Vietnamese food, you should definitely check out Sizzle and Crunch. Got a little bored at one of my past jobs, so I thought that I would try to become a paid influencer and see how that would go. So I became a paid influencer in less than 6 months. I love running, so that was a natural thing. Last year, I hosted 3 community events all about running, 100 people each. If you like to run, you should talk to me. And I also wanted to use my influence for good, so I raised $5,000 for charity, Mary's Place. We raised a ton of money for the No Child Sleeps Outside campaign. And if you're from Seattle, you know that the homelessness is a big problem in Seattle. And most recently, I led CrowdCow's A5 Wagyu launch, where we sold $100,000 in the first 15 minutes and $450,000 in the first 24 hours. So things were going well. And one thing I'm most proud of is that we have the world's rarest beef that's from Shiroshima, Japan, which sold out in 22 minutes. So why do I love startups? Because it's just so thrilling. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Mark Andreessen. You only ever experience 2 emotions, euphoria and terror, and I find the lack of sleep enhances them both. He's great. So I had a hard time narrowing down what I wanted to talk about, because in marketing, there's 2, I would say, categories. There's generalists and specialists. And I would definitely say, as a startup marketer, and probably many of you, I'm a generalist. So I do a lot of different things. Okay. So I do PR, marketing, social media, but I decided that influencer marketing might be a fun topic to talk about because I'm an influencer myself, so I kind of know both sides. And we also did a lot of influencer marketing for the restaurant. So I'll kind of touch on like a variety of different businesses with these 9 tips. So tip number 1, you're starting a small business, a local business. That might be like a coffee shop, a restaurant, maybe a gym. You want to invite influencers, and you want to make a really giant list and start DMing them. And so one thing that made Sizzle and Crunch really successful is that I invited all the Seattle influencers, and I sat down and I ate with every single one of them. So what's important, the important takeaway there is that you want to build a rapport, especially when nobody knows about you. You need these people to really be supporting you and have them as friends. And if you think of the ROI, a free meal is nothing in terms of, instead of spending it on Facebook and paying those marketing dollars. This was really powerful. So this is Seattle Bites and her husband and many, many more that we were able to build relationships with. And it was actually funny because people would come in and we'd be like, hey, like, how did you hear about us? And they would say Instagram. So it's really, really powerful. Tip number 2, you want to become an influencer yourself. Well, you need to create a specific brand. I decided that I wanted to create a brand that was about healthy, balanced, and active lifestyle. And telling a really great story is really powerful. So I documented running or training for and running a marathon. So a good way to do this is going like weekly updates. So I did week 1, week 2, week 3 for 12 weeks, kind of documenting running the Portland Marathon. And the reason that works and the reason that would work for your brand is people like to follow a story, just like Star Wars or anything. You want to share the ups and downs, and that really engages your audience. So this is kind of an example. I'm not going to show a bunch of metrics because I think that's boring, but telling the story, I can give you content tips specifically. So in the first picture, the content that I shared was, oh yeah, I ran this race. It was great. I got 19th place. Had a great time. But then on the other side, I also wanted to follow up with, damn, this was fucking hard. And it's not all smiles. So, I mean, kind of like social media versus reality. And I think what people really like is being really honest about, like, hey, like when you're going through this journey, whether it's like starting your own business or training for something, they want to see the downsides too. So they know you're human. Another unexpected downside, if you want to be an influencer, people recognize you and they feel like they know you. So even if you're just perusing, maybe you're on a date, people might come up to you, FYI. Tip number 3, you're creating content. You want to execute on the data. And this is something that I find has made me successful versus other people that just like to blog because it's fun. And so what I'm showing right here is like the insights from both the Crowd Cow account and my personal account. And you can see that the first 3 pictures are all exactly the same. And so what that's telling me is that there's a pattern right there. That's a winning strategy. That kind of content works. It's kind of like a power pose. Like people are excited to celebrate with me doing powerful things. But I also like to look at the bottom performing. And then as you can see on Crowd Cows, that's our A5 Wagyu from Kagoshima, Japan. And that really, I think content is really important because, I mean, you can growth hack all you want, but if you're driving people to content that isn't interesting, it doesn't really matter. So here's an example of something that is on the bottom of my insights. It's something that doesn't work, and that's food. I love food as well, but in terms of the brand that I've built, and probably the brands that you've built, there's certain things that fall to the bottom, even though they look really good. So even out of the 2, I would say that these were both meals that I was able to enjoy, but the one on the right was more powerful because people could tell that it was from my brand. You can kind of see some of my hair. So you don't have to eliminate food completely or eliminate something that doesn't work, but just making iterations so you're still able to feature that content. Tip number 4, utilize offline to amplify online. One thing that I wanted to test out, I was doing the posting, writing the copy, trying a bunch of different tactics, but I wanted to see like what would be the effect if I hosted an event offline. How would that impact my online presence? And so I found that I increased my engagement rate up to 10%. Consistently, like at its peak, because I hosted a running brunch. And so some of these pictures are from that. If you have a business and you want to promote it, the best way to really meet people and get some supporters is to have an event. So I've partnered with Brooks Running and Thackeray, which is part of the Purple restaurant group. And we hosted this event and over 100 people came and woke up really early. So I really recommend just so like an event like this is a great way to introduce people to your brand locally. And it can be pretty relatively inexpensive because if you get food and swag sponsors, that's not coming out of your pocket. So if you're able to sell like the benefit, like for example, Nick got Crowd Cow to sponsor, it helps out a lot. Tip number 5, only work with people who are crazy about your brand. So I actually launched an influencer marketing campaign with CrowdCow and it totally failed. And the reason I want to tell you about this is because Joe, the CEO, he hired me. He was like, you're an influencer. That's awesome. You should launch an influencer marketing campaign. But it didn't work. And the reason being is I partnered. I was like, hey, I know all the Seattle influencers. It'll be great. Everyone that's not a vegetarian loves beef. I'm going to send them beef, and then we're going to get all these posts, and it's going to be great. And that really didn't work because people weren't excited about it. And so I think it's really important to build your tribe. So what the new version that's working way better is we're hitting up specifically barbecue influencers. And I'll kind of go up into those details, but we have like a list of people that we can call on. So I would say as you move in, you try your first round, it totally fails. In your second iteration, you'll find people that you can really work with and then call on them anytime you have a new product launch. So tip number 6, ask before you give, or give before you ask. Sorry, I said that backwards. My bad. When you're a niche product and you're completely unknown, the influencer probably doesn't want to work with you because they don't know anything about you. And so you're on the selling end when nobody knows you. And so instead of trying to partner with influencers and trying to negotiate deals, like don't try to do that. The best thing to do is give them something. So CrowdCow right now is we wrote a book, Craft Beef, about small farms and big flavors. It actually comes out June 2nd, which is this Saturday. So we offered this an advanced reader copy. So we wanted to make something exclusive that we could give to people as something that they would feel really special about. So by giving this book, asking nothing, we're not talking about posts, we're not negotiating deals, we're not paying $100 per post to get no sales. We built a relationship. And then after we were able to build the relationship, that's when they were coming to us saying, hey, I'd love to promote your products. And so that is working. That's what I mean by building your tribe. And if you think about the ROI of this, I mean, a book maybe costs $7 to $10, and then you ship it to them for $7 to $10. So it's really under $20, and an intern can do this. And so we've built over 200 relationships with influencers, and this is just something that we're going to keep churning so that we can get all the food influencers. So tip number 7, I've been talking a lot about micro influencers. Going for the big influencers is very effective too. One of the big ones that I was able to reach is Tim Ferriss, and that was really, really awesome. I sent him 25 pounds of beef, and he posted this, and he didn't even put his link, but we saw a 2x in traffic. So, I mean, the big influencers out there are really effective. If you need to show to your company lift, you probably won't see lift with micro influencers. So if you want to see some sort of like traffic, someone like Tim, you're kind of sending a bunch of different products to many people and seeing if it'll work. Tip number 8, influencers as giveaway partners. So I found the effective way if you're going all in on Instagram. I talk a lot about Instagram because I do a lot of direct to consumer. So Instagram is really, really powerful. And the best way and the cheapest way to grow on Instagram I've found is doing a giveaway. I always do giveaways that are over $100, so it's of some value. So I did a giveaway with Roadrunner Sports, gave away a Nike pair of shoes. They got hundreds of new followers for $150 plus the influencer fee. So it was a really great deal for them. And then in terms of CrowdCow, what we've been doing is partnering with different food influencers and kind of doing group giveaways. We don't do this too often, but the important part here is maybe it's not driving a ton of sales, but you need social proof. And social proof is unlocking so many doors for us in terms of like if you want to get PR, if you want to get on a podcast, you want an interview, maybe a new supplier, people check on your social channels to make sure that you're legitimate. So this is something that I would invest in. And tip number 9, this is my last tip. I've kind of been blowing through pretty fast, but premeditate influencer shout outs. So like I said before, we wrote a book. And so what we did in the back of the book was we wrote down a list of 100 influencers that we would want to partner with in the future. So this would include people like Anthony Bourdain or Wolfgang Puck, and we shouted them out. And the reason we did that is because we ran a campaign where we tweeted at them. We said, hey, you're an inspiration to us. And we wrote about you in our book. And so this is trying to get the bigwigs in terms of influencer marketing and opening the door. So this worked really, really well. We just did this. Ethan Lowry is one of the co-founders of CrowdCow. He was also the co-founder of Urban Spoon. And so he tweeted at Kenji Lopez, and now Kenji Lopez is in our tribe. So if you premeditate things like this, like putting it in print, it can really pay dividends over time. So to sum it up, the influencer space can be really effective if done right. How I see marketing is there's Facebook ads, there's Google ads, and then for every company, there's a question mark. And it might not be influencer marketing for you, but that's definitely one that I would try. That could be viral video content or something else, but I would definitely give influencer marketing a few shots before you give up on it. So whether you're building a small business, building your personal brand, or scaling a company to $2 million a year, it works. And speaking of merging offline and online, that's why we have the meatballs here. If you would like to make a purchase from CrowdCow, we have $25 off with this URL. Or you can talk to Becky, who's really friendly and over there, and chat with her more about CrowdCow. Thank you so much. I hope that was helpful. Do you guys have any questions? Hi.
Hi. I was wondering what's your process for, like, let's say I have some niche and I need to find influencers in that niche. Do you just like, what's your process for finding those influencers?
Yeah, there's many different tools out there, but my favorite is actually just going on the app and looking. Because I think there's a lot of different things that you can see there because it'll show you suggestions. So if you find someone, like if you find the very best influencer, it will bring you to different influencers. And I like to do it that way because I'm pretty picky. But there's many tools that you can use.
So how would you handle like a Roseanne like incident where their partner was an influencer and somehow they turned into like a suicide bomber? And now they're like, you know, I mean, honestly, because it happens because response to people who are doing it, it's a real question. You know, they weren't anticipating that. How would you handle that situation?
Man, that's a tough one. Actually, I don't do PR. Nick introed me wrong, but that would be a great question for a PR. Are you talking about more like, oh, mhm. I think it would depend on how invested you are in them. If there's an influencer, we've actually worked with influencers that have been not great in terms of like they took a chicken from Costco and pretended they made it. So if something like that happens, yeah, it's surprising. But if something like that would happen, I mean, I would just not work with them again. But if they're a sponsor of your company, that yeah, I think you definitely want to write a press release and say why you weren't affiliated with them anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of product do you have? Oh yeah, sorry.
So, how do you build audience if you don't have the product developed yet?
So I would build the audience around yourself and have the supporters be around you. So when the product does come out, you're all ready to go. And I think Josh is a great example of that. So it'll be exciting to hear from him. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, content creation is something I'm really excited about. But so the way that I was able to do that is I partnered. I was like, I'm not going to invest a ton of money on this. This is a passion project of mine. So I partnered with different photographers that were trying to build their audience. So we partnered up. So I wasn't going to pay them $500 for a photo shoot. So what I did was said, hey, I will promote you. You promote me. You do this work, and I will shout you out, get you hopefully more clients. So I again used Instagram because I thought that was the great medium for fitness specifically. But in terms of like selling products in e-commerce, Facebook might be better. Yes. I've only done B2C, so I don't have a ton of comments, but maybe we can take it offline. It'd be fun to chat. I think it's cool. I mean, I think it's really exciting because I felt like LinkedIn was dying and I wasn't sure I wanted to use it. And so I think the influencers on LinkedIn are bringing more people into their platform, which is good for LinkedIn. I find it compelling and enticing. I chose not to market myself that way as like a marketer because I just thought it would be fun to do something else. But I think it's exciting.
All right, we have time for one more question.
Okay. Yes. Oh, that's really exciting. I mean, you want your whole company to be part of your marketing team. I think some of the benefits like this, I've talked extensively about CrowdCow, even though I've talked about a bunch of different things. One thing that I would recommend is that you can bring in like basically the brand of the company can help boost your personal brand. So one thing that I'm really happy about is like OfferUp was successful. And so by promoting OfferUp and promoting myself, I was able to gain credibility in the tech space. So I'd be selling your employees on the future of the company and where it's going to be at. Thank you.
Great. Give it up for Bryanna. It's true, actually, because of Bryanna's brand at OfferUp, I asked her to come and speak about Facebook ads, and she told me she doesn't do that anymore. So she shared some influencer marketing stuff, and so it works. It really, really works well.